All right, we'll call the meeting to order and thank everyone for being here tonight in live or online with us. We recognize social distancing and mask wearing and all the other protections that we should follow. And thanks to the governor for continuing his executive orders. You've had a chance to review the minutes. I'll entertain a motion or any changes or corrections.
Move approval.
Move for approval by Dr. Manus and second by Mr. Franklin. Any discussion? None being heard. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? None heard. Anyone from the floor like to address the board? None being heard, we'll move right into our financials.
All right, everyone. Hi, Henri. Good to see you. What we have in front of us really is the basis of the year-end financial statements, unaudited, of course, and Cindy and I were discussing it today. There'll still be some changes in it, but pretty much what you see is the basis for the year-end.
I've not got the journal entries in yet for the
Okay.
county for the benefit.
Okay. The projected net income for the FBO is $112,240.52. It's a little bit behind, but it's, again, that's about average of what we've been doing over the last couple of years, especially because of what we transfer into the Airport Authority for continuing operation on the governmental side. The pretty much line items are all where they ought to be with the FBO. In fact, I think Joanne may get into a little bit more of a comparison, I think, when we get to her report. But overall, we did have a better year, and until we ran into the shutdown in April, we were on target to have a banner year, and hopefully 2020, fiscal 2021 will be a banner year. Any questions about, I think you have received these, and I'll be glad to discuss where we are on any of this. If anybody has any questions for the FBO. The authority, again, the authority is, again, where it should be. Our income with the authority is pretty much on budget. We did this last month, I did not transfer the operating amount from the FBO to the authority side. So there is about a $14,000, $15,000 difference in what we had budgeted and where we were, but I didn't see it being necessary for us to continue in our operation this year by making that transfer amount, so I just didn't make it. We have been approved for $69,000 in COVID funds, which will help offset the losses that we had in April. Cindy has gotten all the grant paperwork in for that, and hopefully when the governor and the Department of Transportation executes those grants, we'll be able to file, and that money will come back. It'll be one lump sum, and that money will be applied. In fact, we're still had a conversation today about whether we would apply that. I think it would be applied to operating, so it will go into the operating accounts as soon as the state of Tennessee transfers it over. The state already has that money. Most airports that were not what we call a block grant state, that funding came pretty early in this process. We had hoped that the COVID funds would come during fiscal 2020 because that's when the losses were, and we wanted to offset that in our budget. However, the wheels of bureaucracy turns really slow sometimes. And we were not able to, the state was not able to make that happen in a timely manner with the FAA. So the money's there now, and just as soon as we can apply for it, we'll have that in. And of course, we'll show that in our financials when it does.
I want to consult with ATA on how to receive that, where to put it in the financials, if I need to receive it through capital or if I need to take it directly into operating. Since it came as a grant, I would think it needs to go to capital and then bill capital for reimbursement on it. And we may have to make some budget adjustments for it.
Any questions at all about the, and we did a, remind me, but we did a budget amendment, did we not?
We haven't done it yet. They approved it last meeting. It's going to be based on the numbers that we get from them.
Okay, but we have approved.
Yes, we have approved. They gave me permission to do that.
Any questions on the authority financial? All total, it was, all things considered, we have worked everybody that wanted to work during all of this. We did lose 2 employees. We didn't replace them. Joe Holmes went to work for West Tennessee Healthcare. My guess is he's still employed there. And then we had one of the other ladies that worked in the FBO, and she went to work for Lowe's. So we haven't replaced either one of those. We're kind of doubling up. Brandon David has picked up a lot of the outside work that I did last year. And we have moved over one of our line guys, Michael Butler, that works for the FBO. He's kind of like me. He enjoys working outside, and so he has picked up a lot of the outside work too. We were going to try to hire a landscape firm to do most of the outside land stuff, and the cost was so high and so prohibitive that we decided we'd rather take that money and split it and use it with our employees. That being said, we're going to redirect some of the funds working under the budget number that we have and not getting outside of that budget. We are going to increase some of these folks that have been helping on the outside. We're going to try to increase their pay a little bit for what they do outside. It won't impact the budget, but it'll be within that budget number. Hopefully we'll get that done in the next week or so. Trying to let the county get through the first of the fiscal year blues, and then we'll go from there. It won't affect them. It's just paperwork because they do our payroll. Any other questions?
Any capital issues that we have outstanding?
No, we have finished all of the work and all the clearing and fencing and all, and we're just now waiting for all the final invoices to work their way through. We have about, and I guess it would be on here, Randy will talk about that in a minute, but we have a couple of projects ready for closeout that are part of that, that we're waiting on closing out in that.
Everything that I have submitted to the state for payment, they have paid.
Good.
To date. All those checks will be going out. I'll sign some of them today. So.
Good. Okay.
Any question about the financials? Motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Bob Franklin. Now the second. Second by Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion approves. Moving to committee reports. Anything from audit?
We've got a potential audit set up in October. I don't have the exact date on it, but I've got to call him back and verify that date. They are scheduled.
Anything from compensation? All right. Capital project report. Randy?
Yes, sir. It's good to see everybody. Brian has me sitting in for him today. Brian's a little bit under the weather today, but Nothing serious. We expect him back in action tomorrow. I think everyone has a report there. I'll just run through these. Feel free to interrupt me if there's any questions. First project there is a runway clearing, runway 2 approach clearing, obstruction removal, and that project is complete. Construction is complete. We're in project closeout phase. That project actually came in about $19,000 under construction budget there. And so as we close that out, and Steve, I don't recall if this was an NPE project or, but if it was NPE, that's dollars that goes back into the McKellar account for future projects, if that indeed was NPE.
There was some MPE in what was approved last August, I believe.
Okay.
That approved prior to last August. It was
okay. Good news there, coming in under budget there though. So, but we will get that closed out over. Should be within the next couple of weeks, Steve.
okay. Good.
West Tennessee airfield pavement and marking. This is a statewide project that includes 18 airports in West Tennessee. This is one that's become a challenge to get it done. Steve and I were on some email correspondence today. The reason it's really challenging for McKellar is we incorporated some airfield markings that are non-standard that the inspector has been urging Steve to take care of. And so with this project has been delayed. And so that's kind of given Steve some difficulties dealing with his Part 139 inspector. But today he did.
Chest pain. Giving me chest pain.
Chest pains? Uh-oh.
Chest pain.
So yeah, you guys, just a quick history. This was a project we started with McKellar, with you guys, and after design, the state stepped up and said, you know, we're gonna do some crack sealing and marking across the state. We'll pick that up and we'll pay 100% of it. And the good part of that is you get it for 100%. The negative to that is you're subject to the pace of a statewide project, and it has drug out. And you know, Steve, I kind of bemoaned some of our challenges to Steve a little bit, and I will say, Steve, we're doing what we can here. We've elevated it within our group. I'm now attending some of these meetings and trying to get the contractor more responsive and keep aeronautics up to speed. So right now it's looking like August when that contractor is now planning to get to McKellar to do the crack seal and marking.
What else is being held up?
Well, there's two major issues with this project, and the problem with them is that we have letters of correction from the FAA against our Part 139. We asked when the state started all this that they put us first, and they opted not to put us first. So we had to ask last year, after the second inspection came and went, we had to ask for an extension because the state was not getting this project completed. Last Friday, I was informed by the state inspector that our extension had run out. And to be honest, I think I made a statement to one of the state guys this afternoon, and Cindy and I talked about this. I am personally 100% responsible for every safety violation that's written up at this airport. Nobody at this airport but me. And this project is supposed to take care of this, yet we as an airport have absolutely no control about this project being completed. And it's, I personally think that the folks that are looking at us to complete this project on the federal level, I think it reflects badly on the management of this airport, and there's not a doggone thing we can do about it, because we can't get them down here to do the project. And they've done everybody but us, just about. In fact, they were close Friday. When I talked to the state on Friday, they were down in Selmer doing some paving down there. So they've been all around us. But like I said, we have absolutely no control over it. And I was kind of encouraged today by Patrick Rogers, the FAA. He responded, and he needs another letter of extension from us. But I'm getting really close to the end of my rope on this. This write-up was in August of 2018. We started the planning process in September, October of 2018. And it seems like that we can not, for some reason, get a project that has been let and the contracts are in place. And we're the only airport out there that's under FAA basically orders to fix this project. Yet this company and the state and whoever else is involved, maybe Barge, has got them fixing 17 other airports across West Tennessee. And the one airport that's being pushed by the FAA, we can't get them here to work on it. So, yes, sir, I'm frustrated about it. But doesn't seem to be much we can do at this point, but wait till August. We were originally told it would be last summer. Then we were told it would be in the spring. Then we were told the drop dead date was the 30th of June. And now we're being told it's August.
So who do we need to call?
Randy Hudson. I don't know.
So we do have, we were working to get an airport, a meeting with the state and the contractor this week, actually. And Steve, we were looking to schedule it at McKellar, so we could vocalize our discontent with that and have you present and vocalize your discontent as only you can for your own airport, obviously. And so, but the contractor had some, apparently had some delivery issues, and he's actually he's actually left the state. He's not working anywhere in the state this week, so, which is unfortunate.
This has been going on for almost 2 years. He's got shutters to paint somewhere else, I guess. Something that he'd rather do than meet here. We like to never got him here in June. And then Joanne said in that meeting, Cindy, I think you were in that meeting, were you not? I think Taylor was in that meeting, weren't you, Taylor? Weren't you? You were off that day. It's a Wednesday, I guess.
Who's the contractor?
Axel Contractors, which is a pretty competent, reputable firm. However, I was told on Friday by the state that there was some disagreement as to what his scope of work was at McKellar. Now, McKellar in 2018 got a grant, which we paid for. We got a grant, and the city and county paid portions of it. And we paid Barge to come in and look at all the issues that we had for this pavement and marking. So once the planning was done, then the state said, well, let's roll it into our plan. I was also told on Friday that Jacob Brooks, is that right, Randy? Jacob Brooks was working for Barge at the time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Had done a lot of the work. So he told the state, this planning is already done. This is what McKellar needs. Let's just roll it into our plan. So everything that we needed and that we planned for, except the addition of runway 1129, and the state agreed to put that in the plan after originally telling us they wouldn't reseal 1129, they wouldn't spend any money on it. So that was rolled into the plan, and I guess that was in the summer of 2019. Somehow or other, the bid process got totally messed up. They bid it, then they had to turn around and bid it again. So while all this was going on, I did express some discontent and asked them if we could be first, because we did have letters of violation from the FAA. Even though it's only marking violations, it's still a violation. Whoever does the planning decided that McKellar couldn't be first, we would have to be last. And we're still struggling with that on the Part 139 zone.
So Ron Porter will get with Randy and you and figure out who do we need to have a consolidated meeting with and see how we can get this at least moving.
Steve, if you'd like me to set up a conference call, Brian, Steve, I can set up a conference call with Aeronautics, Jacob Brooks. If you'd like me to coordinate that.
Bob,
Is the contractor the holdup, or is it the state? I mean, who would we go after to put pressure on, the contractor or the state to get the contractor to do it?
So I would say, so the contractor, as Steve mentioned, the original project was bid with a completion date of June 30th. And so which is a little different than the way we would typically bid. We typically have calendar day contracts that we can hold the contractor's feet to the fire on. And so it's a little difficult to, along the way, to have a big stick, so to speak, to hold the contractor's feet to the fire on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But what has happened is, as Steve said, we had to rebid. There was an unbalanced bid, and T-Dot Aeronautics did that evaluation. They had an unbalanced bid. I had to rebid, pushed it into the fall to a time when it was not advisable really to start the project late in the season. I think November, before they got the grant executed and everything. And then we got into the spring. So they actually started in the spring. There's a minimum temperature requirements for the product to go down. And so it was March, and then COVID hit. And so that was a delay from the front end, or from the right after the start of the project. And so, and then you got the spring weather. I think the contractor we've had on projects before, he's done a good job. He's doing some things, I think, that he's trying to help, but it's not always helping. He's trying to watch the weather forecast, and if he sees pop-up thunderstorms hitting, say in the Dyersburg area, he'll go down somewhere a little more south in the state and try to work there. The problem is we may already have NOTAM set up at airports at Dyersburg, and he can't work. And he diverts to an airport where they're not prepared to receive him, or he diverts from an airport where they have staff specifically scheduled to be on project there, and he does this without notifying really people. So I think the answer is we go to the state and express to them why it's a concern. There's not much the state did extend it 60 days. And I think in part because there was legitimate delays, I guess, with the pandemic. So it's something I think we need to get the state on board. We are involved. We are the project managers for that. It's been frustrating for us as well. And it's a challenging project on, with 18 airports anyway, but when you throw in some of the complications, and the fact that we don't really have a calendar day contract to hold his feet to the fire, it gets challenging. But I do think Steve, Ryan, and board, I think we talked to Jacob Brooks with T-Dot Aeronautics and appeal to them to say, if let's pressure the contractor to put McKellar, let's bump McKellar up in their contract. If the contractor pushes back and said, well, we've got our forces allocated to do it this way, then, and I don't know, we are where we are in the contract.
The contractor in default.
No, the
No,
state
it's not.
didn't do it.
No, sir.
We're getting like Ed Jackson or one of our state reps involved in this? You know, let them put some heat on somebody?
I don't know.
State
I don't know.
I don't, you know, and I don't want to speak for Steve in response to that, but I'm not sure this is, and I don't want to minimize the fact that it's a Part 139 violation, but I don't know if this is one to go that route necessarily. I think we're going to get there, and the problem is, like Steve says, it's very personal to Steve. It reflects negatively on the management, but I think, Steve, if we can get Aeronautics to maybe endorse your letter or maybe sign your letter that you may send, or maybe even have them draft a letter to request the extension, that may be something that'll help maybe take the crosshairs off your head, so to speak. So.
Apron lighting.
Yes, sir. Apron lighting project. This is a project to improve the lighting on your ramp. There was an initial on-site investigation that was done in May. I think the preliminary data has come through, and we're looking to kind of revise that and put it in a report that's more presentable. And we should get something in a couple of weeks. And that project's moving along. The AOP update, we made some progress on that. We've got the grant has been approved. We've had the Barge has drafted our contract. We've submitted it to Steve, and I'm not sure if it's before your board today for consideration, but we have submitted that for consideration and execution. Completing this AOP is really the first step that then leads to the design and rehab of the runway. And so we will be flying aerial and giving you a full up-to-date GIS survey, and you'll be fully up to date with FAA's and compliant with the FAA GIS requirements. So this is a good project to get all that in order. Next project, Hangar 17. This is the expansion to the back of Hangar 17 and parking lot. This is one that was kind of laid out with the input from Core Aviation originally. It's the Economic Development Grant project, and we had a kickoff meeting with that. One thing that we do that would be helpful is if there is an alternate tenant from the original one, to kind of have an idea if they have an alternative build out. So next step is really for our architects to kind of coordinate, Steve, as we talked the other day with you, maybe a potential new tenant, if that's been nailed down, and just kind of get an idea of what they would like the interior build out. And short of the tenant providing that, then input from the board, Steve, from you, to kind of get that laid out so we can know what that floor plan would need to look like.
I think we need to do it as basic or as uniform as possible that would be able to market to another tenant in the future, given COVID and everything else and the uncertainty right now. So I don't think we really should spec it to a tenant at this point.
So we did have some discussion about, basically providing a white box, if you will, just put it out and let the potential tenant come in and put up the partitions as they may want. Yeah. Well, that's certainly an option to do that. We would have to at least put in the bathrooms probably to get an occupancy permit, but that's certainly an option to do.
Well, I think, Steve, don't you agree that we need to make it as flexible as possible?
There's a lot. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. There are some things that probably as a board we need to talk about and go that route. Yeah, I agree.
And the last thing any other questions on that before our comments? The last note there is up in FY21 is we're looking to start the preliminary design for probably in the March timeframe. Aeronautics indicated they would be willing to accept the initial grant, which would a project to do geotechnical survey and things that are preliminary to the design of that project. So that's my update. Any additional questions or comments? So Steve, Ryan, would you guys like me to set up that conference call with someone from Aeronautics? Or shall I wait for you guys to prompt me?
I just prompted you on email.
Okay. All right.
All right. Do we have any other projects that we're looking at?
No, everything that was going to be in 2020, fiscal 2021, is in front of you on this report. Occasionally we have some local projects, but we're still finishing up a couple of things. We just completed the repainting of hangar 16 floor. That was completed last week, which it actually has been completed in 2021, even though it was a 2020 project. It took a while to get that complete. But almost everything else that we do on a local basis currently through the capital budget, the county has asked us to move that to fiscal 2022, and we've done that. So there may be some things that come up. One thing that Karen Bell and I had a conversation about last week was HVAC. We currently run 28 HVAC units, and some of them have been running for quite a while. And usually the HVAC, the capital budget, is where we've done all the major repair and the replacing of the HVAC unit. So now that was taken, and that's always been about a $10,000 a year line item, that was taken out of our budget and moved till next year. So if we do have something that goes down, what we'll end up having to do is probably front that ourselves and then go back and ask the city and county for repayment on that, depending. Right now, everything seems to be in good shape. On July the 1st, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we had the main switch in the terminal that in its brain tells you if it's hot enough to run air or cold enough to run heat. The main switch kicks off. And like I said, it was July 1st, first day of the new year. And that's the way it would happen. So we had our HVAC people just wire the switch. We did get a cost of about $650 to fix that. Originally, we thought it was going to be about $2,000. So the $650 we're going to handle out of operating, and we're going to go ahead and fix that switch. But if it's a major repair, then we'll have to do some other things. But other than that, everything seems to be in pretty decent shape.
Steve, there was one project in 1920 that we did not complete.
1920? Ooh,
1920.
that must have been a rocket ship. 1920?
We had money that we received for the upgrades of the FBO.
Yeah.
So doing new FBO counters. COVID stuff came around, and we have just put that on hold right now. But we do have funds to work on that at some point.
That fuel desk at the FBO is 15, 16 years old, and it needs to be replaced in the world's worst way.
Do we have a schedule of how old each one of those 28 units are?
We have them all identified. At one time, I don't know if we've gone back and updated that.
A&W pretty much just have a list.
We do quarterly maintenance on them, and a couple of years ago, we had them go in and number all the units. So we know by looking, this was the last unit in this building, I think, that we changed, and we added additional returns. And remember, used to, we met in here in August and you couldn't stay in here because it was so hot. We had fans and everything else. So we've solved that problem with this one. But as we look down the road at some of the others, we know which ones are the oldest. And there's 2 ground level units that are underground, basically, here in the terminal. that are two of our oldest operating units at over 25 years old.
So, and do we have a schedule on roofs?
We don't on the roof. That was one of the other things that was pushed till next year. We did have two quotes, $45,000 for the roof, and we don't qualify for government assistance on the roof, so that would be a city county project. This building, the building identical to this one on the other side, this one's 10, that one up there is 8, 9 is the terminal. All three of these buildings, building 8, 9, and 10 are all due roofs, and it total project's about $135,000 to do all three buildings, which is not bad, but you consider these are metal buildings that would need some kind of plastic type coating just sprayed on them. So they're probably the cheapest of the two. Now the terminal is a flat roof and it's got rubberized coating on it. And that rubberized coating would have to come off. So that would probably be the most expensive of the three buildings to do. Joanne, I think has said it several times, I don't know which one of the two hangars is leaking the water. Is this one? Probably this one. And it doesn't leak in this section of it because this is the lean-to side, but in the curved domes areas inside the hangar. This one does not have this one doesn't have the false roof. Yeah, they both have. They both have false roofs in them, and that's to keep the birds out. So it's leaking above the roof, and on the 10 that is the false roof. So not in any. It's all steel metal, but we've pretty much patched everything, especially on the hangars, as much as we can.
But it still leaks.
Still leaks. Now the terminal, we think we've been ahead of the terminal the last couple of times. The terminal leaks where the joints, where it was built on in 2005. That's the area where the terminal is connected that Pick Suite has leased. That joint right there is probably the most aggravating of the places where it's put together in the terminal. There has been a leak from time to time in the FBO side on the north wall, but seems like right now we've been ahead of that. Every time we get into a real hot period of time with a flat roof, we have that expansion contraction issue. And with the rubber and the way the rubber is bonded together, that will move, as y'all well know. And then when it gets cooler and it starts raining, that's when the leaks will be more prevalent. So right now it seems to be okay. But it's got to be one of the #1 projects of the next year.
If you don't mind, can you give us a list of those 28 HVAC units, how old they are?
Sure.
And then the roof. And I don't know if you do it by building or do you do it by?
They have
Okay.
9 units.
Yeah, the units are numbered, but we know which numbers are on which building. So
But the roof.
the roofs, they're all three about the same, by building 8, 9, and 10. So yeah, we can give you that.
Help us plan on
Okay.
some of our
Sure.
expenses. Randy, anything else?
No, sir, nothing else from me.
Hangar lease committee.
Well, we met with Cindy and talked through the two possible tenants, one being the local guys and the other being Manu Aviation, which was whatever Core has become. And we asked for some additional information from Manu, but haven't received any, right, Cindy?
We had received some initially, but the only thing that we like from them is that 1-page application that they submitted a letter of intent. And they have not submitted their financials yet. I've called Susie a couple of times today and sent her an email and have not heard back from her.
Well, but everything we discussed in our meeting that we wanted from them, I haven't seen any of it.
No, we haven't. I sent her an email and I've not gotten a response from that.
Yeah, which was 3 weeks ago. So that doesn't really bode well for
Very true.
for them, being as so I guess my recommendation would be, and I don't know, Bob can chime in after me, would be to move forward with a year to year temporary lease with the local group, and then market after COVID, go out and market our that hangar and see if we can get more money for it once we have our renovations done on it.
Did you include that new application that we had, Cindy?
Yeah, we received a new application today, Rory, and it was from Mr. Paul New with Tennessee Aircraft Services. And they have submitted an application today, and she's in the process of getting me all of her paperwork. So there will be 2 local businesses that are interested.
Well, I suggest we go with we go ahead and go with a 1 year lease with the people that have already submitted an application. Don't you, Bob?
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't think we should let Paul New come in here in the back end and kind of after the fact and submit an application when we've already got a bird in the hand with these other people, and it will add another an extra maintenance shop onto the facility in addition to Paul New. In my opinion, I would think Paul New's just probably trying to come in to keep them from coming in. Competition.
Well, let me, Ari, if you all will remember, I presented a letter from Mr. New. I don't remember when it was, in February or March, that he had applied for the Cirrus, maintenance facility to do all work on Cirrus aircraft for West Tennessee. And since that time, he has received that designation as the Cirrus Service Center. So he's beginning to look to upgrade his facilities. And so when he called last week, I did talk to him. I told him that best thing I knew was to fill out an application, because I didn't know that anything had been decided yet. So I think that's, I don't think he's trying to keep anybody out. I don't think that's the case. I think his business is changing also. And
well, I think we'd be better off getting to an extra.
Yeah, Cirrus is a pretty complex company, I think. So he's looking for a better facility than what he would be in. In his conversation with me, his facility would become available if he were. He would give up the facility he's got.
He would give it up for a year-to-year lease in the new hangar.
I can't answer that, because that's the board's decision. I'm just.
Well, I think, but I mean, I guess that's my point. I think with us getting this grant approval, and we're about to put $1 million into this facility, the only thing I think what we need to do right now, and our best move as an airport, is to go with a short-term lease in the current hangar, which we have someone who would probably do that, and then and then once we get our addition done to it, we'll have a much more marketable facility to go out and get a much better lease rate at.
One of the things that we did discuss, Ari, in our meeting was that they would not be allowed to sublease.
Mm-hmm.
When I spoke with them today, when he came in here and brought me his application in, that is their intent, is to sublease to some of our local tenants that we already have hangar space leased to.
So the other person, not Paul New?
No, right.
Paul New wants to sublease.
No.
No, it's the other guy.
No,
Yeah.
it's what's the name of their business?
Manu?
ATA.
Oh,
Well, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, and that is part of their business plan. So I know we had discussed that in our meeting the other day, and I think that needs to be brought to attention, and maybe we need to look at this a little closer and.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, but I don't think we need to lease it out to anyone. I mean, if Paul New wanted to come in, I don't know. I think we probably need to revisit it since we have extra applications. We've got our approved funding to improve the hangar, and obviously, it doesn't look like Manu is very.
I agree with RA. I think if Manu was still interested, they would have responded very timely, and they haven't done that. So I agree with RA 100%.
I think the committee ought to get back together and let's about Paul New and this other group, and let's kind of get our heads together on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Try to work out something that works out for all of us.
Yeah, so that everybody's happy. I think we can probably work out something that everybody will be happy with.
Yeah.
so no decision on that at this point. We'll wait to hear back from you guys next meeting, or call a meeting and we can get together.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Mm.
I'll get with both y'all and schedule another meeting where we can
Yeah.
sit down and
Let's
go
do
through
that
all
and
this
let's
again.
rehash everything out again and see,
Okay.
put this other player in.
I wish we had 2 hangars.
I do too. Wish we had 3.
Did Paul indicate he wanted to keep his existing plus? He's gonna vacate that
We'll
one.
vacate that one.
If we can, maybe make that work, maybe one, if David and them didn't need the as large a place, that would work for
That's what
them.
I'm thinking, that you could probably move David down there and put Paul in the.
But I don't know if that would work for what they're needing it for or not.
But we don't need to lease anybody anything to where they become a competitor of ours.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
And
Are they the ones that you said you had to call today and they still don't have the letter?
No,
in?
no,
No,
that's the bunch that originally was from Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
That core aviation. Yeah. Split off, spin off. Yeah.
So you guys will get back to us, is
I'd
that
sure like to
correct,
have them down
Ari?
there.
yes, I mean, this is the first we've heard about this Paul New thing in this meeting. So we had no forewarning to this. So we need to obviously look at this and revisit it.
Okay.
And I apologize for that. We just received that just before the meeting started this afternoon.
Gotcha.
But I apologize didn't mean to spring that on anybody.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just, that's kind of,
Yeah.
obviously with you just receiving it right before this meeting, we need to sit back and relook at everything.
Thank you.
Moving on to the FBO report, Joanne.
Well, we actually ended a year that was very, whatever, in pretty good shape. And actually fuel sales, we sold a little more than we did last year. So like Steve said, we were on pace for a stellar year, I think. You have the financials there, and we ended with a good net income. Of course, we haven't made the end of the year adjustments, and that will make a difference too. We did do the transfer out, operating transfer out this month, so that would make a difference. But we did, everyone buckled down and pitched in, and where they were needed, they worked, and we consolidated some people, and those that we lost, we stretched out those hours between others, and so I think everyone's pitched in and done a great job. Most of our events are extra educational and outreach events had to be canceled or postponed. We weren't able to have our camps or the fly nows, and so maybe we'll put those in for next year's events. If the aviator, fallen aviator car show still happens, and I guess it will, the Memphis 99s will do pancake breakfast. The International Aerobatic Club just canceled the National Aerobatic Championships, which is held in September. So I expect that they will cancel our competition, or at least postpone it until next year. The 99s fly in October. They are still hopeful to have that and really want to try to have it. Steve said that to let them know we would try to help them have it as safe as possible if they do indeed come. We did the grant that Aviation Adventures received this year from Aeronautics. I have received that Redbird J Velocity simulator. It's a flight simulator that the children will use in day camps. I've not put it together yet, so it's still waiting for maybe Brandon to help me.
Bring it over here. Huh?
Bring it over here.
Yeah, bring it on.
I don't know if you guys have any questions. It's been a fairly short year. So not a lot to go over at the end of this year.
If I may, Joanne, I when all this started back in March, one of the things that we all talked about, everybody on staff here, was that we had to break our expenses down because we felt like that, expenses go to the bottom line. If you cut the expenses, even if you cut income, you're still going to increase your bottom line if you can work really hard at doing that. And expenses down 24.6%. That's an excellent effort. It's a very excellent effort, and
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yes, sir.
So our next activity, public activity, will be the car show.
Well, we just assist with that.
Yeah, okay.
Our next actual activity is the September 3rd through 4th, if we have it. And then the next one is October the 2nd.
We have, JR, we have in the past always contributed to the Fallen Aviator Car Show. We've indicated to them this year that we might not be able to do that. They've indicated to us that it may be a stripped down more version of what they've done in the past. Now, they generally have a full day of activity over there, so I've not seen any plans yet. It's the car show is the last for Saturday in September.
I believe it's the 29th.
Always. And they have big auction, they have a band. We've had jumpers fly in, airplanes and so in over the years. So really, we've not had any indication on where this is going yet with them, but we have indicated to them that it would be the board's decision this year. Even though we budgeted that amount, we may not be able to do that, and that would be up to this board. Usually we try to piggyback on the car show just because it is here and it's a pretty good size event. So we don't know where that's going yet this year.
Thank you again. The tower report.
Matt calling you?
No, see him on there.
Matt was going to call in, but he must have gotten busy.
Roll over to the next slide, please. Thank you.
In June of 2020, we had 2,449 operations. That's up some from June of 2019, where we had 2,230 operations. It's a 9.82% increase. And so we are again, even though in amongst this, we're having some pretty decent numbers occasionally. I would imagine that the last couple of days with the crop dusters here, the operation numbers have been really, really good. So
Did you calculate what the number is above 2018?
I did the same, this January through June. I just added those numbers up for every year, just to see where we were. Like this year, there's 10,922 operations. Last year at the same time, there was 11,429. So a difference of about, what's that? About 500 operations. And then in 2018, there was 11,705, which is about 750 less, which actually probably not that bad considering.
Well, I think you're going to see private aviation continue to thrive during COVID with the reduction in commercial flights and the hesitancy of corporate America to fly public right now. So, I mean, as you'll look at our jet fuel we sold in June, I mean, it was up significantly with our avgas being down. So I think you're seeing a lot more corporate private travel right now. And I would think that would continue on for the rest of the year for budgeting purposes.
All right. Air choice.
I don't see Taylor doing it.
No. Looking at the report that you have, looking at last month at 223 employments, month of June, that was in May, June 482 is a remarkable increase. And I think maybe we're seeing that the change in the schedule a little bit. The aircraft leaves sooner for Atlanta, almost an hour sooner, I believe. And that puts the Atlanta flight back here quicker too. And I think that's helping overcome some of this. Our big draw, of course, has always been St. Louis, and because of the Cardinals, and we know where that is right now. So it's just not all good news, but it's not all bad news either. And they've been flying. I mean, they have missed very few days. If you look at the flight cancellations, there were none in the month of June, and nothing mechanical, nothing weather. So
I flew to Atlanta a couple weeks ago, or last week, and
That's right, you
4
did.
on the way up there and 4 on the way to that. So it's starting to pick back up a little bit.
That contract is,
this time next year, we'll be in negotiation.
Do you think, Steve, like Delta and American and some of these people might be more apt to be after the, the government money that comes with putting a flight in Jackson, whereas in the past few years they might not have been with their earnings being so robust?
Ari, I think that I think the addition to the Atlanta flight and being able to show where the interest has been in Atlanta, I think that the recruiting that we go through next year at this time, I think we'll have a different group looking at us than we did 4 years ago. Contour Airlines out of Smyrna has gone to a regional size 50 passenger jet, and we did look at them the last time, and we did talk to Atlanta about them. I have had a very short conversation with the owner, CEO of that company. They are based in Smyrna, and I think we'll see a really good interest from them. I don't know if any of the legacy carriers, because of the pressure that's on them, but things are going to change in 12 months. We'll just have to see. But I think your point's well taken, and I think that that we're going to see a big uptick in corporate aviation, and I think that we're going to see that Atlanta is going to be an even more primary destination, and maybe in the next group we can Atlanta can be our #1 destination.
Well, I guess my point was like 12 months ago, Delta probably had no interest, because what's the subsidy, like $2 million a year?
Yeah, I believe it's right. 1.8, 1.9. Yeah, I believe it's
So
right.
they probably didn't have much interest in that when they were, very profitable and making a lot of money elsewhere with passengers. But I would think a $2 million subsidy right now is more valuable to a legacy carrier than it was pre-COVID, because that's guaranteed revenue, whereas your non-subsidized airports are not guaranteed revenue right now. So I guess my question is, do we have a contact at Delta and American to reach out to?
There are every year, and we haven't gone this last year, but there was it's almost like a quick dating service for airlines and communities, where a lot of different airlines will go and meet with communities, and we'll sit and talk. The one that was scheduled for Dallas this year, of course, was canceled. I've seen some email traffic about trying to reschedule that after Christmas. Sometime the timing for Jackson would be a lot better for that. And most of the carriers, either legacy and small regional, all will go to these type events. This one's called Spokes, and the Spokes 2020 event was canceled. I think Spokes 2021 is something that some of us from this group need to plan to attend, because the timing will be a lot better for us.
Absolutely. Ryan, I think that'd be important for you to be involved in as well with the chamber.
Give us a report next time.
Yeah.
One of the things with this too, Arnie.
You can't see my face.
Yeah, he's got his camera off. Look at that.
They do have to be in the Essential Air Service program to be able to bid through this contract. And I'm not sure if there's any airlines that co-share under Delta, that if it's in the program or not, but it would be something we could look into.
All right.
Any new business? Old business?
Now, we talked before we started here. The Battelle mask cleaning service has moved to a different location. That hangar's been decontaminated, and we are ready for the committee to start working through the process of putting somebody in there, but it's ready to go. It's clean. We do need to get the floor scrubber in there, and we'll do that sometime. If we ever get a rainy day, we'll try to get in there and scrub the floor. We did today get finished up with the Mint. Their hangar floor has been painted. That was part of a grant from the 2020 capital.
1922.
Yeah, the 1920. Is it 1920?
Yes.
How about 2020? But anyway, just got an email I noticed from Alan, and I think I'd copied some of y'all on that. But they are they're moving back into their hangar tomorrow, so that's good news. Their floor's painted, hangar's clean, and appreciate JR's help on that. We're turning that page, get that behind us, and so then we go on. But that's all I have.
Nice.
I've got something, whether it be new business, old business. I like to pay a compliment to someone. I've been involved in retail marketing, merchandising all my life.
Mhm.
I've seen folks that are good at it, and I've seen some that aren't quite so good at it. And I want to do a shout out to Joanne. She does a great job of marketing and promoting McKellar Sipes and the FBO, which in turn promotes Jackson in Madison County. She really does a great job on what she does here.
Here, here.
So I just wanted to pass that along.
Amen, brother.
I
Second
concur.
motion.
I concur.
Give a round of applause.
That was one of the best things Steve came up with.
I'll take all the credit, but Cindy had to make this decision.
Anything else to come before the board? RE?
Nope.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, you can get up and leave.